It's a visit with a person of high strangeness. Now today we're going to do the update of the predictions for 22. And we are actually in the month of what we call in Washington State June-Juary. Because it goes from June to January in 10 minutes. You have hail and snow and wind and rain and sunshine, and we are totally confused. So a few years ago, we decided to call it June-Juary. So that's where we are. June-Juary of 22, update of the prediction show. Now, before I get going, I'd like to tell you about a friend I would like to dedicate the show to today. Years ago, I wrote editorials for a little magazine called the Star Beacon. And one of the readers from that newspaper kind of took a liking to me and read everything I said, and we became good friends. Now she lived in the Panhandle of Texas, in Big Spring, Texas, actually. And I used to visit her and things like that. And she helped me with the show quite a bit. And thanks to her, we got to go places that I wouldn't have been able to go. If I needed to go, there was a plane ticket or a hotel room or something. But at that time, she wanted to stay in the background, and I honored that. And so in March, she died. So I want to show you a picture of Anne Cavillon that we have never talked about because I think she was 86 or 89, I can't remember at the moment. But I talked to her every day, and for the last, 10 years or so while she was ailing, and she finally went home. She called it upstairs in March, and I would like to publicly acknowledge her and thank her. And we got a good picture, right? I'm talking to the control. Okay, wonderful. We're doing things a little different today because with COVID and all these different things, things are different. I like to make some corrections. The regular predictions for 22, we filmed in November of 21, and everything that's on there, even though I had the story, but I couldn't detail it because it was so bizarre. I was laughing at time because it was so crazy. But I like for you to know, once things started to happen, we would recognize what it is I was looking at, and everything happened. But I made an error. I talked about the prince from England that would not be able to make political decisions because he was not an American citizen. And I visualized the one with the red hair, red or blonde hair. His name is Harry, but I did call him Andrew. That's a different prince, so I need to correct that. I called him the wrong name, but either way, everything happened just the way it is. 2 weeks ago, I went to the Mima Mounds, and some of you know I go to mounds and sit on them, and I get information from ancestors or something. And while I was sitting there were a lot of people there, almost, a lot of people, and they kept interfering with the quiet, the stillness that I needed. Besides that, I can't climb. I can't do anything like that anymore. So I sat at the bottom of the Mima Mounds, and what they told me was really bizarre. It said that Mr. Putin, for us to pay attention because he would become a hologram. And then it made reference for me to go and look at pumpkins. Now, because I kept getting interrupted, I had no clue what I was looking at. And, excuse me. And so when I got home, it took a while, and that's when they was talking about Mr. Putin is ill. And so I like for you to know when you watch the news and things, because nothing that we're getting is 100% accurate at the moment. See if that, when they show Mr. Putin from a distance or walking, if he becomes a hologram at any time, there will be a change. I also researched pumpkins and understood all of a sudden that pumpkins originate in China. It was the main staple food many, many years ago. So it was the pumpkin that took me to China, so that China is going to enter the equations of the predictions here. Now, for those of you that have never seen a prediction show, I'd like for you to know that I go ahead in time and take a look and see what's coming our way. It's kind of like troubleshooting. And so the purpose for this is, so if we see something or hear something or I know something that we don't want, we have time enough to either reroute our thinking, our actions, or if it does happen, because it's predestined. Predestined means it's going to happen regardless. Then it doesn't hit us so hard, and we can kind of roll with it. We can kind of go with the flow, and it doesn't come as such a big surprise. And some of us are doing that, and we can maneuver fairly well. It doesn't always work, because lots of times when I look at something and I see something, I don't see anything. It's a perception, per se. So lots of times I can't detail anything because I don't know what it is. But the story is always there, and you recognize it and act accordingly. At this time, I can't tell you seasons. There was a time I could tell you a time and a month. All bets are off. Back to the June-July thing here. I can't go by trees. 2 days ago, I saw autumn leaves on trees already, and today is the 11th of June, so I cannot detail time for you either. So let's see, haven't said that. So when you recognize what it is, make sure you adjust your way of living to what it is. And don't call me and say, yeah, well, you was right, and do something that you really haven't asked for. I'd rather have you make me wrong, because everything that I'm looking at might not be to your liking. So please make me wrong by adjusting ahead of time and going with the flow here. So that's that. I know people across the world that sometimes help me back up something that I'm looking at. And we did that again this year. So first I'm going to tell you my summary, what I was looking at. And when I do the actual reading, then we can detail things. This year I made the country a male. The reason for that is males are logical, to the point, detailed. Women think this way, but this time period coming, I think is very structured and bullheaded, actually, where you can't maneuver and you can't move it. So the country is thinking like a male at the moment. And so it gives me a worldwide caution. And a lot of that has to do with the terrific summer. The weather, the heat is going to be unbearable. The disasters, the natural disasters, not only here, this is around the globe, things that we are not used to. So we kind of have to, well, you can prepare to some extent, but some things we can't help. But just keep in mind that this summer is going to be different than what we are used to. And also, we're going to have to repeat something that we've done before. The next line would be, people are not able to go to work. So I'm almost thinking, and I'm not sure, but I'm almost thinking that we cannot get a handle on the pandemic, on COVID and all these things as fast as we would like to. And there's a good possibility that some of this is going to double back on us to a certain extent. And I know we're tired of it and we're complaining about it. But our survival kind of depends on it. So we may have to repeat the whole process of masks and things, and people won't be going to work. and it makes reference to the death rate going up. So I'm almost thinking it's either as a result of the COVID or something else. And like I said, it's predestined. It cannot be changed, so we have to adjust. Politically, we reap what we have sown, and but there's a lot of negative influences coming in our reality here. So when you watch the news and everything, research things and see if it rings true to you. I cough because I have an obstruction. I'm not sick, so I'm sorry if I have to cough in your ear here. Anyway, see if it rings true to you, and if it does, then go ahead and act on that. If it doesn't, then don't do that, because things are a little turned around at the moment. And so because when people realize they made a mistake, it's too late to call it back. Once you, whether it's voting or other things, once it's set in stone, you can't call it back. There's also going to be a shortage of workers for the harvest. So I'm assuming that has to do with immigration. And I don't think there's going to be enough people to pick apples and things like that. There's a lot of pollution in the atmosphere at the moment. Now that's not psychic. I already know this because I keep track of reports like that. So there is a lot of pollution in the atmosphere, and it affects people differently. And so see if you can find a pattern in your behavior and the way you're thinking, because sometimes what we think is our idea is really being influenced from somewhere else. We will have new beginnings, and I see legal hearings in issues of war crimes. So I am assuming that the present hearings on January the 6th is going to go, or was it the 9th? I don't even remember. But anyway, January 6th, I think it was. That's going to go forward, and will have consequences for some people. And when it comes to the war in Russia and Ukraine, there will be maybe on both sides consequences and legal issues according to the war and the war crimes. Okay, there's that. That's what I have. Okay, now I need the picture for Lokesh Kumar. He is a guru and an astrologer, very famous astrologer from India. And he has given me information and backed up things that we were both looking at over, 3 or 4 years now. And so I called him and asked him if he would be nice enough to take another look. And he said that there is a maximum probability of a treaty between Russia and the US through little supporting countries. No direct treaty, that there would be a little country in the middle there that would kind of try to negotiate things a little bit. He thought it could be India, Germany, or France that could actually be a game changer for the final peace. And the war will only be stopped because of hunger. So back to what the Mounts was telling me about holograms of Mr. Putin. Maybe that's a timeline when we realize Mr. Putin is no longer in the picture. That's not going to make any difference. If they use holograms, then we are made to believe that he is still alive or functioning or not sick or sitting at home watching TV. But Lokesh thought that the war would stop because of hunger. So I'm not sure if he meant troops or total population. That I'm not sure of. And so that's what Lokesh said. Now I have a new lady. Her name is Elizabeth Chisholm. She is from South Carolina, and she dreams things. And so we've never had a person dreaming, making comments. And so, but she added this, she was dreaming of bees. And in her interpretation, what it means to her when she dreams, she said it's a forerunner of good fortune in business. Even if the bee stings, so it's not going to be easy, but maybe we're going forward. And there is going to be so much coming at the same time that it's almost like a swarm of bees where people have a tough time handling everything at the same time. So this is what she said, so I'm not going to interpret her dream because I don't know how. The colors pink and gray. To her, the color pink means success. Gray is a waiting period and a marking of time for transition. And that would apply to everyone. And that's what she said. So I'm sure control room will show you a picture of Elizabeth, my new friend, and I like her. I think she'll do well for us. That's all I have on that. So now we go to the actual reading. And like I was telling you, I coughed through the whole thing. My health is not any better than it was the last time. And so I just have to cough if I have to cough. I read with 2 decks. Let me go find a mail to make it the country. And I'm so ready for summer, you just don't know. From what I understand, the rest of the country is in a terrible heat wave, and we are just raining and ugly. But in a way, it doesn't matter which way it comes out. Somebody's always going to be complaining, and we try not to encourage that. But I'm really, I'm guilty of that, But so I want to show you. I was trying to make a statement with my shirt here. It says, no matter what, cheer up. So, okay, let's see what we got here. Now, while I do this here, my health and everything, the way it's going, I am not convinced that I'm going to be able to do one for next year, depending on how that goes. So this may be the last prediction show that we do here in studio. And but I'm still open for phone calls and things like that. So let's see what we got. Oops. Okay. And as you can see, I still haven't thrown my mother's scarf away. It still looks like that. It's almost like I'm attaching a certain importance to this rag here. So let's see what we got. It talks about that in some areas, the past and the present is almost the same. So what that means to me is we have repeats where we didn't really learn anything the last time around. So I'm not sure what it makes reference to. Chances are it'll clarify it in a little while. But we need to go forward, always forward. We need to be a frog. A frog, he jumps up and he jumps forward. That's the way a frog does things. So we don't want to be a crab and go all over the place. So regardless of what happens, chin up and go forward. Always go forward. And we have to give up some things to get some things. So there is a possibility that, who knows, rationing may come, and don't know what's going to happen with the gas situations. So we can complain all we want. We can't change it. We have to adjust. There's a lot of inner fighting with the on the political scene with the two parties. I mean, lots of fighting. Lots of fighting. A lot of foolish decisions will be made. And let me see here. The elections, the midterm elections is going to be interesting, let me say that. And the political setup, the way we have it, is probably going to change. It's going to change. More problems with the banks and money institutions. So I'm assuming that includes the stock market and some of these things. I'm not sure if somebody's going to hack into the systems or something, but everything's going to get real turned around where we need our wits about us when it comes to money. Yeah. And then we can go to court and try to sue somebody all we want. That's not going to make any difference, because the way it is right now, everything is, what's that word? Kind of stagnant. It doesn't matter what you do, it's going to be the same. Very immature decisions will be made by government. What they need to do, I don't know if it's them or us, I mean, meaning government agencies and politicians and regular people. It says them, so I don't know if it's them or us, or if it has to do with party lines. They need to relax and chill and just take a chill pill or smoke a joint or something, because the way they're doing right now, their mind is faster than the facts, and that's going to create problems. Especially when it comes to money issues that affects everybody. Yeah. Some people that has been determined are responsible for some of these, especially money problems that is or will be created, will be brought to justice. But you know, that can take years in the meantime if you can feed your family. You don't want to wait 2-3 years till you get the end result. It's going to get rough. So, oh yeah, I got 2 of those. I work with 2 decks, so when I have 2 of the same cards, one after the other, it lets me know I'm right. So I'm going to lay these over here. Probably, well, between now and November, which would kind of take it right into the midterm elections. Now I want to insert something here. My show is religiously and politically neutral, except when I do predictions, because I don't know what I'm running into. So it makes no difference what I'm thinking. Is I'm going to tell you what I'm looking at, okay? So there is no political affiliation here. But I think it's going to get nasty right before the election, so things can be turned over. A lot of fighting. Here's the second time I have this. A lot of infighting with the political parties. Yeah. This is interesting also because it has to do with headaches. In the workup that I had, I called it brain injuries. So I don't know if that is something physically that will affect our health. Could be mental health, it could be migraines from pollution. I don't know what that means, but it comes out the same. It has to do with our head and our brain, and I don't know what I'm looking at, but you'll recognize it when you see it. It would be advisable. Oh, okay, let's go another way. Even though I can't physically get around anymore and anything like that, I talk to a lot of people. They call me anytime something changes. They think I have all the answers, and I do not. But what happens is, it's surprising when I talk to people. They watch the news and they do not have definitions for some of the words that's being used on the news or in documentaries and things. So even though they're watching things, when you said, well, what does that mean? They don't understand. And then when I ask them how come, it turns out that, oh, that doesn't interest me. It's too stressful. I don't want to be bothered. Well, okay. If that's what you need to have peace of mind, accept the times that we live in and things that is going on, it would be very, very advisable to be informed. So you don't have to get emotionally involved in things. Just be aware of your surroundings. Because if you don't know what you're looking at or what you're hearing or what you know, you make really, really bad choices. And I would say we've been here before, but I can't give you a time frame because I don't remember what all it was. Now, for those of you on Facebook, Facebook puts up, every day it'll pull up something from, it'll say memories. And it gives you things that you posted 10 years ago, 8 years ago, however long. And sometimes I have to laugh because it's pulling up things that was posted on that day 4, 5, 6 years ago. And even though right now we're saying, oh, it's never been like that before, that's not true. Because here's Facebook giving you the date and you're thinking, oh, I remember that. And it's almost identical or very similar to some that we've done before. And I find that interesting. So for those of you with Facebook, pay attention to your memories and make some comparisons there. Also, speaking of Facebook, I don't know how we got like that, but they flag me constantly. It says it's false news or it's not acceptable. I've been flagged for a tomato, for boiling cauliflower, just stupid stuff. And then lately they don't even give you an explanation. It says has been checked by fact checkers. On my Facebook, I use it for informational purposes. I was asked to do that because a lot of you don't have time to watch the news. So if you have a headline and you go to work and your boss makes reference to something, at least you know, not the details, but at least you know what he's talking about. So I have been doing that, but it's getting really complicated because fact checkers keep flagging me. The other thing is lots of times, because of the international community that I have, something happens, somebody will film it or make a comment about it, and I post it if it is relevant to our daily life or something that we need to do. And then the fact checkers come and said, oh, this is false news, because it hasn't hit the main news yet. So if there is something I put on there and say so-and-so filmed that, you can't believe that because the people are right there and think it's important enough to let me know so I can pass that on to you. Oh, I got sidetracked, didn't I? Yes, I did. Go with the flow. Go with the flow and try to juggle things as well as you can, and not for everybody's purpose, but for your own. Try to find out who you are, how you think, and what works for you. Because we're at a point we can't be worrying about everybody. We can only work on ourselves. The mental health issue is going to intensify. And I don't know if that has to do with chemicals. It has been determined there's a lot of chemicals in the atmosphere, and different chemicals affect different people. And I know this because I'm allergic to everything. So sometimes environment and things is going to influence us. How am I going to explain that? Let me see. How am I going to explain this? Okay, for instance, my face had swollen up really bad. And I finally got to a dermatologist. And when I got there, she said, oh, that's your fire retardants. And I was surprised because in 2015, Ebony and I went to California and we got hung up in fire retardants. We were driving home and there were fires and the fire retardants hit us. And my face, it looked like I had gotten beaten up and everything. But that was in 2015. So now this doctor tells me that's as a result of something that happened in 15. But as it turned out, there were fires in other areas of the country. So when the wind came, you know, it came with the clouds and it affected my face. And the reason we knew what it was, because it had happened before. So now the way it is, according to the news and according to scientists, there is so much crap in the atmosphere. So no matter what you do, it's going to come down and it's going to affect some of us. And so, does that add to mental illness? I don't know. But there is outside sources that affect our well-being and our behavior. I'm going to stick with that. I am going to stick with that. Sudden attacks of anxieties for no reason, or so we think, that is temporary, but it's going to affect a lot of people, especially if they physically go back into the workforce, because times have changed, things have changed, circumstances have changed, and start from scratch, because nothing is the same. Everything has some kind of way, everything is going to change. This has to do with birth rate. I would like to say the birth rate is going down. On one hand, it's going down. On one hand, it's going up. And the way people look at pregnancy, we have to, oh, I bet you that's Roe v. Wade. Wow. Don't know how that's, I don't know the outcome of this, but it's creating a lot of stress at the moment because we're speculating. So go within and see how you feel about all of that. So if things do change in the present laws, it won't hit you so hard. But this does not look good. Some of the churches will be under attack. Now, I'm not talking about physical attack. I don't think that's what that means. But I think the churches, some of the churches will be under attack by the way what they say or what they think or what they teach their, I can't say that word, parishioners. There's going to be changes at the head of some of the churches. And then just like politics, one wants to do this way and here come a new administration or whatever you want to call it, and they make changes and it takes a long time to get adjusted. But in the religious setup of, now this is from America, the predictions are for America. there's going to be changes in the religious setup of this country. I'm going to stick with that too. Can give you a time period. In November, I said that the drug laws would be relaxed. Marijuana would be legal in most states. We're almost there, and this is going to continue. The bad part about all of this is the medical setup has gotten so bad, and I know this from experience because I have to take pain medication in order to even get out of bed some days. And now all of a sudden, everybody's so crazy about drug laws and drug addicts and letting people out of jail and however they worked it out in their mind. It is very hard for disabled, seniors, and sick people to get pain medication because it's always assumed that you are a drug addict. And I'm hoping that will change because some of us don't know what to do. And it's very stressful when you have a root canal without a pain pill and see what happens. That's what it feels like. We have to be more respectful. The interest rates is going to continue to go up. So if you need to buy something, you need to do it like right now. COVID was hard on us. Those 2 years was really hard on us. And just about the time people got friendly again. You know, we were scared of everything that moved. You couldn't talk, you couldn't be in people's space, you couldn't shake hands, you had to do the elbow thing if you were lucky. And just as we relax and people become more friendly, that's changing again because all of a sudden people starting to get hateful almost. And they're backing off again. I don't know what that has to do with, but people are going to be changing again. They're not going forward positively. It's almost like they're sliding backwards in what's the word I'm looking for? Nobody talks to each other. Nobody wants to talk to each other. Everybody's doing their own thing, and one hand doesn't know what the other one is doing. That's how we get screwed up. There will be more problems with the post office. Now, we had this before, and there were some changes made, but the post office will never get back to where it was originally. You know what us older people are used to. So continuous problems with the post office and deliveries, probably at least till the end of the summer. I don't think it's going to affect packages in Amazon and things, but it will affect letters and for those of us that still write checks and things like that. So I know circumstances is trying to force us to do everything electronically, but you have people like me, I'm a Scorpio, and I'm going to do it the way I want to, and I'm going to write checks. And so people in my generation, we're not so bendable. We don't want to do it that way. And so instead of mailing our checks on the 1st, we have to mail it 3 days earlier so it gets paid in time and we don't have late charges. They're talking about creating more jobs for the government. And it says that it's been like that before, where they actually downsized and things ran a little smoother. So more does not mean better. We need qualified people, not more. We need qualified people that can sort all these crazy things out. And I'm not sure if all government employees will physically go back into the office at all. I don't look like it. But more does not mean better. Yeah. And one don't know what the other one is doing. Families, instead of becoming closer again and like one unit, in one family unit, that's not going to happen. I don't know if that has to do with those 2 years that we couldn't get together and do things, but it's never going to be the same. It's just never going to be the same. And it's really easy. It's very easy to draw the wrong conclusion, just like that. So we have to work on the family units as a whole, because we're really going to need each other. I'm not sure if the cruise ships are ever going to get back to normal. Now, people tell me, under the circumstances, sometimes it's cheaper to go and live on a cruise ship, making a cruise, than to pay rent, because everything is so going up so much. But the actual cruise ship industry, I don't think it's going to recover this year. I think it's going to take longer. This goes back to the family unit. We have to be more tolerable. People get older, people's circumstances change, people's evolutionary and educational statuses change. So we have to learn how to go with the times. I'm a good one. I'm not going with the times at all. Everything is Bahnhof. What that means is, when I was growing up, I grew up on the occupation. And we had the French, the British, the Americans, and the Russians, yeah. Those were our occupiers. And of course, we didn't speak any of those languages. So if the soldiers ask, how do I get here? How do I get there? We couldn't speak the language, so we used our hands and everything. And the way we had worked it out, whenever a question like that was put to us, it said Bahnhof. That means train station. You would start off at the train station to give instructions. So you said Bahnhof, and then you pointed this way and that way, because you didn't have a clue what they wanted from you. So that's where we are, Bahnhof. Find you a starting point and then work outward, so we can keep up with what's really going on, and be more tolerant with the old people, because we don't know what to do. We just don't know what to do. Excuse me for a minute, my glasses are pinching. Oh, this is better. Yeah. We don't know what to do, and we get everything's so fast, and everything's at the fingertip. So when you're young, the newer generations, when you explain something, our brain cannot relate to what you're saying, so it takes a little longer for us to comprehend what you're trying to tell us. I think that's what I'm trying to say. And we need more tolerance and patience. I think the homeless crisis is going to increase, because lots of times when advice is given or decisions are made, they're not workable for some people. And I think with the demands that was made to end homelessness, boom, like that, it's going at a pace where people that's been homeless for years, don't know how to, here again, how to function in this new, in those changes, in that new setup. And with the prices, the rents going up and everything, people not having money, it's going to increase. So instead of demanding things will be changed overnight, that's not a good idea, because it's going to backfire and we'll be worse off than we were before the suggestions were made. Okay. This has to do with guns. Guns. The gun problem is not going to get solved. It's a lot of smoke. And pacifying. I don't know how this is going to work. Okay, here, let me see. All of this deals with that, I think. Here you have guns, you have and this is my personal thought here, because I can't tell one gun from another when I look at this. So I don't know if they're talking about hunting or rifles or automatic. I cannot determine that. Well, there's no way I can do that. But it almost looks like some new things will be set in place, and unless people abide by this, it's not going to make any difference, because this is funny. I made the country a mail, and there is 4 mail cards in my deck, and I did not use the most highest authority. I used the one next to it. So now I have the most highest authority on the subject. So I'm thinking that, excuse me, even though people want to make changes, they can't, because the higher ups, which is probably corporations or something, is not going to allow it. So not too many things is going to change. I'm thinking you can't buy guns unless you're 21. I think that'll work. Some of the court cases is going to be favorable, but not enforceable. It doesn't give me a real good answer here. It's in the forefront, but nothing's going to change. Nothing workable. Let's go this way. The price of health care for insurance, the part that you paid, that will increase. It will not get any more affordable. I can't put a time period on that. Almost looks like changes in the health care setup is going to be way down the highway. The housing market will become stagnant. Don't know how long and what the reason is. It'll be a good while before money comes, the money flow goes back to where it was, if ever. So take a look at your priorities in how you spent your money. Yeah. Yeah, I think that includes the stock market, the 401ks, and all of that. When I'm in doubt about something, there's a card that I requested to come up. I don't use for anything other than myself, to let me know, no matter how crazy what I just said, to stick with that. And this just came, so I'm going to stick with what I said. I'm not sure what I'm looking at. Like I said, you'll recognize it. Ooh, and here's 2 cautions. Here's 2 of them. One next to the other one. Financially, it's going to be real up and down until November, December almost. So it's going to be up and down for quite a while. So if you don't have enough capital to play with that, kind of stick to what you know, because it's very, very unstable and going to be. What is this here? Yeah. Oh, I know what this is. If I say be more loving and be more kind, I'm not sure what that means, because I think we all struggling and we all trying and we all doing the best that we can. And when you say, oh, just love each other, well, that's so easy to say. I'm not even sure what that entails, but we really have to try to do more things in is it unity or unity? One or the other, you know what I mean. You've watched me for a long time, you know I make up words and I screw up words, you know what I mean. Yeah, here it is again. And things will repeat if we're not watching it. If you back to the Facebook, go to the memory when they give you those memories, say, oh, I remember that. And do you know sometimes the weather is even the same on the same day. Like if you have a weird snowstorm somewhere and you say, oh, gee, that's never happened before. Next thing you know, here's the memories and you say, oh, God, I put away my snow tires and now it's snowing. Everything is a repeat. Everything is a repeat. And to me, that's helpful because it's not that we never seen this before, because we have. And we know how we solved it, and we have to hope that we come out okay on the other side. Because if the first time it happens, if we hadn't been okay, then we couldn't talk about it now. So let's see what else I have. Let me go to 12 really quick. I think my time's almost coming to an end. Now, as far as myself, I will continue playing in-core shows from a long time ago, because as it turns out, they're very timely. And I'm not well enough to do this all the time. And so I'm not even sure if we can do the one in November, but I'll try my best. And so let me go pick this up really quick. Oh. Let me see. Highlight of my day is food these days. I like to go eat. Applebee's. You get all this food and they're nice, and I don't have to cook. Okay, let's go do this. I'm just talking weird here. Money eventually will work out okay. Legally, everything will fall into place. If we are cautious and don't think immature, we can overcome anything that's coming our way. Be careful. Once you go on a trip, there will be infrastructure issues, gas issues. Of course, we don't have enough money in these days. And whatever pollution is will give you a headache. I think it's the pollution. Let's see, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Be more kind to each other if you can. And I think I'm pretty much at the end, so I want to thank everybody for bearing with me another, hour or so. Like I said, you call me. I'm a day sleeper. Don't bother me in the morning. And We can do this. We'll come out okay eventually. But it's going to be really, really a little complicated here. Just a little longer, okay? Just bear with us. And we'll see you next week with something else. Love and light to you. Yeah, we can do this. Yeah.
Lilian, we'd like to thank you